recent weeks, we've seen an epidemic of suicide attempts on Christmas Island. 157 people being the objects of piracy on the high seas. A 16-year-old slashing severely his arms just because the government was going to send him back to Nauru. And a Hazara asylum seeker deported just the other day to the sectarian hell of Afghanistan, where we can only imagine the grim fate now awaiting him. And we can only ask, what next? What previously unimaginable outrage will the political elite of the major parties now find it necessary to execute and justify? And we hear of these horrors so often that we've come to expect them. But I'd like to talk now about another victim of the war on asylum that we don't hear mentioned so much. And that victim is our society, Australia. We, you and I, are the walking wounded of the government's hostilities. Of course, we're not subject to the same kinds of war crimes as asylum seekers are. We're not enduring the murderous and disease-ridden nightmares of Nauru or Manus like Reza Baradi. We're not stitching our lips together. We're not being tortured by the corrosive despair of bridging visas. And we're not being driven to hunger strikes or to set ourselves alight by the futility and hopelessness of our situation. We're protected from all this, but still, our society, ours, is the collateral damage of the war on asylum. That war is intrinsically linked to the rest of the government's agenda, and we bear the scars in so many different ways. We bear them in the racist attacks that are on the rise in Australia. And that's no wonder when all we hear from our federal politicians is that we have to stop dark-skinned refugees from getting here, whatever the price. We bear those scars in the budget attacks on ordinary people that the government has been emboldened to make. Because asylum seekers are the scapegoats and the decoys in the major parties' vicious nationalist narrative of Team Australia, and refugees are used to distract from the attacks on us. It's shameful. In brutalising refugees, governments have established the principle that no matter how weak you are, no matter how desperately you need help, the state owes you precisely nothing, and it will doggedly and callously attack you by cutting Medicare, by cutting employment benefits, by cutting public education. And at the same time as it persecutes you, it will use your money that should be being spent on schools and on hospitals to write cheque after cheque to its multinational friends who run our sickening detention camps. Friends, in a war, we have to fight. Not with violence, but with the conviction that justice is on our side and that we can make change happen. And it's not enough. It's not enough to express outrage, to go to a rally, to make a pretty speech. What we have to do is build a social movement. And what that means is continually seeking out new recruits and new reinforcements so that our side, the side of justice and decency, grows so large it becomes impossible to ignore.